It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 11 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a very interesting behind the scenes / leaked video, I guess, of Season 11 Part B of The Walking Dead. Now, because there's a chance that this could be a leak, I am putting a spoiler alert on this video. Now, usually I don't cover spoilers or leaks on the channel, especially for The Walking Dead. But with this particular clip, I stumbled upon it by accident, and when I looked at it, I just thought it was very interesting. It does connect to a lot of the comic material, so it wasn't something that me and most likely other Walking Dead comic fans weren't expecting, but there's a few very interesting details that give us a good idea what they might be doing in the TV adaptation. But I am gonna put a spoiler alert on this video just in case you don't want to know, but we're gonna talk about what is going on in this quote-unquote leaked video and what the story could be when it comes to Sebastian's role in Season 11B of The Walking Dead. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we jump into this, smash that like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. If any of the shows on the left interests you, then you definitely want to subscribe and stick around, because those are the shows that I react to or I cover in depth on the channel. All the links to my social media pages is also down below and in the description, so make sure to follow me in any of those. With that said, let's waste no more time and dive right in. So we have a few shots of an actual riot at the Commonwealth. We have a bunch of Commonwealth residents with signs and posters, and they're chanting something. Now, obviously in the comics, there is a riot that takes place. The circumstances for the riots are a bit different, but we'll get to that. First of all, let's take a look. So the things that are being chanted by these residents is, "We want justice. Give us Sebastian now." Now, for comic readers, we are all aware of what Sebastian does. We know that Sebastian murders one of our survivors. I'm not gonna name them just in case you're not a comic reader and you don't want to know, but that's why Sebastian is a big character at this part of the story in the comics. When it comes to the signs that everyone is carrying, there's messages like "Give us Sebastian," "Now we have the power," referring to the Commonwealth residents. "Pamela is a liar," "Give us Sebastian now," "How many have to be killed?" So right off the bat, we know that Pamela and Sebastian are not on the good side of the residents of Commonwealth. They did something that angered them, that made them think that they are corrupt and they're misusing their power. And when it comes to Sebastian, there's a chance that he did exactly what he did in the comics, because there's signs saying how many have to be killed. That's obviously a subtle hint that we are gonna see the exact same sort of story when it comes to Sebastian. Now, there's other posters as well. One that says "Find Sebastian," which means that Sebastian is either hiding, most likely with the help of Pamela and Lance, or he possibly ran away like a coward that he is because he doesn't want to face the residents. There's other posters that say "Resistance against the Miltons." That pretty much backs up what I've said so far. The theme of these riots, I think, is that the residents of Commonwealth have had enough. The corrupt politicians and leaders at the Commonwealth. It seems like what Sebastian may have done that had come out was the straw that broke the camel's back and made the residents rebel against the community. There's other signs that say "Who decides who is next in line?" Now, when I read that, I kind of think of a situation where maybe the leadership of Commonwealth, specifically Lance and possibly Pamela, is trying to justify Sebastian's actions by making it seem like who he killed had to be killed and that they served justice. And the Commonwealth residents are not having any of that and saying, who decides what justice is? Who decides who's actually next in line to be killed? There's other signs that say equality, self-explanatory, and another one that says Mercer for president, which is awesome. So Mercer is not on that side. Mercer is with the people, which is more or less exactly like the comic book. And I think we're definitely going to see at the beginning Mercer being approached by the Commonwealth leadership, Lance specifically, to help them out in a sticky situation that they find themselves in, possibly connected to the Sebastian stuff, but Mercer doesn't want to help. His conscience doesn't allow him. Who knows, Mercer may even be the one that spills the beans and tells the Commonwealth residents, so the people of Commonwealth, what is actually happening behind the scenes. Now, with all of that said, let me briefly talk about the difference between the riot that we're most likely going to see in the TV adaptation and the riots that we saw in the comic book. In the comic book, the riots were a result of officers of the Commonwealth military and police academy beating up and murdering an innocent person. That's what led to the riot. But in the TV adaptation, it appears that they're remixing that and throwing Sebastian in the middle of that story. The riots are more likely to be connected to the Sebastian story in the comics than they are to the Commonwealth soldiers and military members killing an innocent person story. But obviously I could be wrong about that. I'm just making some conclusions based on the evidence that we have in hand. But when it comes to Mercer, I think he's gonna initially be approached by the leadership. He may even initially agree to help, but then his conscience is not gonna allow him to either keep the secret or help executing some sort of plan that the Commonwealth leadership has. And I think at that point, he's probably gonna either spill the beans to the people and tell them what actually happened, or he's not gonna back up the leadership when shit hits the fan and when riots start happening and things like that, which leads to why some of the people support him, because of his action to stay on the side of the people. The other part of it is Pamela. What is Pamela's role? Because obviously one of the signs says Pamela is a liar. So is that referring to Pamela lying about what Sebastian did or may have done, or is that related to something different? We're gonna have to wait and see, but at this point I'm leaning more towards that being related to Sebastian, to Pamela trying to cover up for Sebastian and help him out so that he doesn't actually go through the punishment that he actually deserves, and basically stopping justice from being served because it's her son. When it comes to Lance, I'm definitely getting some very interesting vibes from Lance. They've definitely expanded his story, and it definitely seems like in the TV adaptation, he's a much darker and ominous character. We even have this scene with Lance sitting at most likely his own desk or Pamela's desk, contemplating whether he wants to do something, and it seems like he's thinking about doing something that is very severe and it's evil. Who knows? Sebastian's actions may have been prompted by Lance. Lance may have been the one that egged him on to go through with doing whatever he was gonna do. Now, when it comes to whether Lance is trying to take on leadership at the Commonwealth and overthrow Pamela, at this point we don't see any signs of that, but that's definitely a direction they could go down if they decide. It wasn't something they did in the comics, but it could be a good addition to the comic book Commonwealth storyline. With that said, let's talk more about what Sebastian could have potentially done. Now, I doubt that the Commonwealth residents, so the people of Commonwealth, would do what they did and go into the streets and riot if Sebastian killed one of the survivors. I mean, we could see a lot of them being disgusted if it comes out, but I don't think it would necessarily lead to a full-blown internal conflict and a civil war. I think the riots are a direct result of Sebastian doing something to their own people. I think that's a more realistic story, one that would definitely lead to a riot like the one that we are probably gonna witness. And when it comes to who Sebastian could have killed, internally to lead to that. I have two theories. One is that he was involved in killing the fake Stephanie. We do see a scene of a missing person sign for the fake Stephanie in the trailer, so there's a chance that that's definitely connected. The other way that they could go with it is for Yumiko's brother Tommy to be involved somehow. We know that Tommy is a well-respected man at the Commonwealth, so if Sebastian did something to Tommy under direct orders from Lance to prevent helping his sister Yumiko in any way, so that's also another possibility. Both, I think, are underwhelming. If this is the adaptation of the Sebastian story from the comics, if this is an additional story, then I'm all for it. And I think between Tommy and fake Stephanie, the fake Stephanie story is definitely one that makes more sense at this point because there's some evidence for it, but they could definitely go down the Tommy path as well. But with that said, if this is gonna be a replacement for the Sebastian comic storyline, I think it's underwhelming. And I just hope that they don't do it. Now, if it's not a replacement and if it's an addition, then it's great. Then the question still remains. Who is Sebastian gonna kill when it comes to the survivors? Before I get to that, one thing I do want to mention is that this would mean that Sebastian is gonna kill one from their own people, leading to the riots, and then separately one of our survivors, which I think would make the story a little convoluted, unrealistic for Lance to just be killing whoever he doesn't like or whoever he's told to kill. But again, there's a chance they could do it right, but it's a little tricky. Now, with that said, let's jump into who could Sebastian have killed from our survivors. At this point, Carol is one of my candidates, and the reason for that is because she was in the trailer a lot, and I just don't necessarily see a story for Carol at Commonwealth which wouldn't involve her possibly getting that story, especially because it seems like they're focusing on Carol and Sebastian in parts of the trailer, which I found very interesting. But other than Carol, I also have Aaron and Gabe at the top of the list. I think any of those could also get that story, and even though it would be a little underwhelming, it could definitely be a good remix. I know a lot of people have also speculated Ezekiel might get it. I'm not a big fan of that. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to share and smash the like button. Subscribe to join our community and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.